Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us as Allen Greenfield is going to join us momentarily to talk about what do the aliens really want from us. Oh, it's going to be a good show indeed. Dirty Filth is here with another crazy cartoon, and the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, including Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, Tim Mothman in his goatee, sharing a bronze medal tonight. Hi, David Norenberg. How you doing? Frankie B. and Robert Lamoth. Nice to have you all here. Fast Hemi, how you doing? Bar Madison and Mama Catherine. Mwah, I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you had a wonderful day. I know you'll enjoy tonight's show. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, how are you? JSCO, thanks for coming on in. Mel WD40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because when you're talking aliens, you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness. It just doesn't feel good. I would say trust me, but I wouldn't know. Thanks, Mel, for the lube. Kathy Evans, how are you? Hillbilly Herb, good to see you. Paramarv, how you doing? Little Timmy James, what's happening, my friend? Eternity Eternal, what's going on? Cosmic Joe, nice to see you. Carol Amerio, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Creepypasta is here. Creepypasta will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Scrolling on down, we say hello next to Operation Shutdown. In the studio, Thomas Rock, good to have you both here. Flat 6, nice to see you. Jerence Carter, good to have you back. So we continue on with our roll call here. Jay Truthseeker, nice to see you. Pam Harris, thanks for coming on in. Zen1 is here. Zen1 will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. He only signs in gold Sharpie. That's what he told me. Only in gold Sharpie. So if you don't have a gold Sharpie, you ain't getting an autograph. Dragonfly, how are you? Richard Minnick, thank you so much for kicking off this Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much, Richard. All right, Paramarv, how you doing? Algaray over on Twitch, leg press 600 pounds 47 times. That's great. That's a great feat, my friend. Your legs must be burning tonight. Jennifer Beveridge, how are you? As we continue on with our roll call, who's next on our list? Joanne, nice to see you. Hi there, AJ and Adam B. Good to have you both here. Steve Garza, welcome. And, yeah, that's 3 days in a row for you. You never know, Steve. You keep up that, you might be signing autographs very shortly here. Ozzy, how you doing? I'm Hardcore over on X. Good to see you. Cody Eiler, nice to have you here. Terrence Wills, good to see you. Dave Tiger Williams, he'll drop the gloves for you. So we continue on with our roll call. Deadfish, Matthew Goodka, nice to have you here as well. Scrolling on down, does my mic sound low? Does it sound low? Or is it just got to turn up your microphone or your speakers? I don't know. Tim, if you're listening, check my microphone. Let me know if I'm sounding low. DM me on Facebook, please. Susan, how are you? And Kurt M., nice to see you. My levels are good on this side. That always has me worried when I see someone. Hey, there's B. Arthur himself. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. Marty Burback, nice to have you here. B. Arthur, by the way, is Brett Thomas for Paranormal Portal. All right. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you all here as Allen Greenfield's going to talk about what the aliens want with us. And so let's check it on out, find out what's going on this end. Why not? Damian Wyatt, how are you? Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens. Yeah, you do. Tartar Sauce, how are you tonight? As we continue on with our roll call, we are almost done, almost ready to launch tonight's show. And let's see, Little Cam on YouTube, bench press 580 pounds, 57 times tonight to warm up for tonight's show. Number 28 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. And guess what? Let's rock. Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair we welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of feeds for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got an amazing show coming to you tonight. Our good friend Allen Greenfield is here. Yes, the famous author of The Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots. We're going to talk about what do aliens want with us? What are they doing here? What are them aliens going to do with us? Are they part of humanity's future? Or are they part of our non-existence? Then, in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller. Little Timmy James will show up for the UFO Report. It's Dave 101 night, and we'll have the weird news of the week. So let's get right to it, shall we? All right. I love it when this guest is on. Allen Greenfield is an author. He's a researcher. He's an occultist. He's an alien contactee. He's been named UFOlogist of the Year by the National UFO Congress. He has done absolutely everything in science, in research, and he is one of the best. He is somebody who believes there are secret societies, there are secret governments, shadow governments running the program that we do not see on a daily basis because we don't want to. We don't want to look that deep, that dark, and the ugly side of humanity. He also is someone who loves coming on this show, and we love having him here, so let's bring him on in. Allen Greenfield, it is great to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you, my friend?
I'm just fine. How are you doing, Dave?
Good. I'm going to get you to move a little closer to your microphone because we're getting a little bit of echo there, my friend.
A little bit of echo. How's this?
That is much better. Much better.
Then I'll pull the whole Megillah closer. Here we are. But then they'll be seeing the lines in my face because time keeps on slipping into the future. Okay.
We are getting a little bit of feedback. It's weird because before the show when we tested all the audio, we weren't getting that feedback. I don't know what's going on here.
Let's see. Let's see if it's something on my end. I'm going to turn off my mic and then turn it back on. Okay? This is
Sound
what
really?
the Black Lodge does whenever I'm on anything. So now I can hold the
Yeah,
phone in my
you are
hand.
sounding beautiful there. You are sounding beautiful there.
Well, okay, for 2 hours I'm going to hold the phone in my hand.
All
Okay.
right, Alan, you
This
are
is-
somebody who is quite unique and special. You've studied the occult for more than half a century. You've studied secret societies, secret lodges. You're an alien contactee. What haven't you done in this world, my friend?
Uh, expose the truth to enough people to make a difference. But I'm working on it, and I'll continue to work on it until my job is done.
So, what do you think is the job? What is the job that you need to do?
Well, the initial question that you were asking, what do the aliens want? It has two completely different answers, and it's very important that both of them be factored into any kind of response anybody would give. Answer number one is, and these terms I'm borrowing from my occultist mystical background more than from ufology, but the two basically are dealing with the same thing from different vantage points. There are the secret chiefs of the third order, something the theosophists call the ascended masters. There are different terms in different backgrounds. Medieval Jewish mysticism had them as the Lamed-Vavniks. There is a Buddhist term, Bodhisattva, and it just depends on the culture what they're called. But the point is, these are beings that started out, and this is very important, started out as humans, just like Dee and me and most of your audience. And at some point, they developed spiritually sufficiently that they could no longer be contained in a physical body. And they, while yet alive, are ascended masters. Again, I don't particularly care for the theosophical terms. In magic, in the magical community, they're called the secret chiefs of the third order, which would take more explanation than we have time for. But the third order is basically sufficiently advanced that you no longer want to be, nor can you be, a corporeal being. So they are benevolent, incorporeal, outside of time, and immortal. And what they do is the equivalent of what the Buddhists call taking the oath of the Bodhisattva. In Western magic, the closest equivalent I can come up with is the oath of the abyss, which is roughly, tying the two together because they are the same thing in different cultures. An intent before going on to higher and higher realms. They are dedicated to bringing all of humanity, and indeed all sentient beings here or elsewhere, to the level that they're at now. And they will not try to ascend beyond where you would expect anyone still holding on to their humanness, so to speak, to be. So that's what they do. Now, on the other hand, by the way, I started to dedicate my most recent book, written with Ella Phillips, my publisher, to the secret chiefs and discussing how they became what they are and why you should count on them to be benevolent. And the times are sufficiently, shall we say, difficult that I decided, well, I'd best devote a volume to the opposite end, and it's called Secrets of the Real Black Lodge Revealed. Real because the late, great David Lynch used the terminology quite accurately, but in a fictional context, in the sometimes popular Twin Peaks series, which was filled with esoteric wisdom. And it's just unfortunate that Mr. Lynch was also a chain smoker and passed on this year with complications due to emphysema. A great loss to the mystical world and a great loss to transcendental meditation, of which he was a major proponent, and a great loss to all of us who enjoyed his work. But his work goes on, of course, and the book is about the real Black Lodge. That's why I insisted on the word real being in the title, so no one would mistake it for a fancy or imaginary organization. It isn't an organization as such, but like the Secret Chiefs, it's not as if there is a sign on the door somewhere that says, "This is the Black Lodge," or "Black Lodge, abandon hope, ye who enter here," or anything remotely resembling that. They also are highly advanced beings who started out as human. We're not talking about their communications with the others, or higher powers or lower powers like demons and things of that sort, although they'll take on that persona sometime. They are former human beings who make the decision not to go on to higher levels, nor to assist humanity in attaining in the enlightenment sense, but rather because they are very hierarchically oriented, they intend to basically hold humanity back by any means necessary. And they don't take any sides, but they would love it if we cease to exist, basically, because then there would be no one to come up and rival them. So I devoted the book mainly to them, not to cause people to lose hope, but as a cautionary note. And exposure is to light is a wonderful antiseptic. So that's what I attempted to do. And there's a new edition of it due out any day now.
Alan, as you have moved the ball forward, being a longtime ET contactee, when you talk about everything that is going on systematically with these secret societies, secret lodges, and control of the planet and humanity, what do the aliens want?
Well, they pretty much mostly want the same thing that these two bodies that I spoke about want. The first contact that they have, and this is in remote antiquity, or if you will, since both the Black Lodge and the Secret Chiefs exist outside of time, they have been in contact with other worlds, other beings. I think it was George Hunt Williamson who called it other tongues, other flesh. Richard Shaver, who I knew, had a pithier version of how to describe them as evil beings called Diro, or relatively benevolent beings called Hero. In any case, they are the first to have contact with otherness, with other beings from, let's just say, elsewhere, because there are many points of origin. So the Secret Chiefs tend to attract attention from those who have benevolent purposes. And a good many contact stories are from people who are in communication directly with those beings, or indirectly through the secret chiefs. You get that all the way back to the days of the great oracles or mediumship, or right up to advanced radio communications, which, now that I think about it, we're doing it right now, but on a different wavelength, so to speak. And the other is the Black Lodge tends to attract malevolent beings who, I don't know, they don't have any particular problem with our little world, but they do have a problem with any beings at the level of the secret chiefs. So they have an interest in being tricksters, in deceiving us, in sending us on the wrong path, all the while sometimes, as in some of the cases of trans-channel communications, which is very useful, but also very iffy, because if you don't interact on a sort of face-to-face, I almost said mano a mano, but that they're not necessarily fellow monos, you know. So if we have communication with a negative entity, either through the Black Lodge or directly, they're not going to represent, hello, person, I am from an evil, evil place, and I have nothing to offer you but death and destruction. That's not a great sales pitch. So they pitch themselves in the same way that the more positive entities, and indeed the secret chiefs, if they communicate, do. But their designs are negative, and if you are alert and learn certain cues which come with advanced magical knowledge, you can tell the difference through various means that go back to medieval and probably ancient magicians who developed a science of realization of what they're dealing with, friend or foe. And if you being the collective you, are approached by any of these things, you really need to know some of those techniques, at least basic ones, or be suspicious of anything that you have communication with. It's the first thing that I say to people who say, well, I'm hearing voices, and when we get past any, psychological issues that might be the source, and it really is happening, then you have to sort the operators from the things, and stay away from the things, and stay away from the operators, because they don't mean you well, or for that matter, any human being well, although they will come on as the most famous that I go into in a number of my books is Ashtar. Now, if you know occult lore, Ashtar in antiquity in Mesopotamia was a god of war and vengeance, much loved of the more warlike people from Mesopotamia, like the Assyrians, for example. Well, they're not just an example, they're the example. And that has come forward to, as is frequently the case, what was a god to the ancients is a demon from hell for medieval people. And it took on an adaptation of their ancient name, male Ashtaroth, female Ishtar, Astarte, number of names. And they always appear to be, I think maybe this is a guess on my part, but I think because they do have names that are giveaways to people that know, I think they may be obliged by some force beyond my ken to use a variable of their real name. So Ashtar, even in medieval times and early modern times, which I would define as the the coming to the Americas of the European peoples. Ashtar, as a demon, tended to say, "Oh, I'm not a fallen angel. I am a reformed angel who has the right motives in mind, and I have, as many people have, made my home in America," and by which they mean the entirety of the North American continent and conceivably South America. I haven't studied it there, so I really can't tell. They do have the equivalent anywhere in the world, but that is Ashtar's pitch up until the 1930s. 1930s saw a lot of changes in the occult world, including occultists who are also attracted to fascism, either the Italian variety or the much worse German variety. And those people, some of them, their names would be familiar to people who were just familiar with the history of fascism and Nazism, but that have come forward in time as trance channels. The classic case is the guy that was the head of the Silver Shirts in the United States before the U.S. entered the war. Of course, that would have been illegal in Canada, but although there is an interesting story there too, involving the Fascist League of Manitoba, but that's a whole different story. Their leader, and I'm not going to dignify him with names here. If you want to read the book, or you can just read up on the Silver Shirts. Actually, in my hometown, my father and the local rabbi took a really big chance. They infiltrated the local Silver Shirt branch, and it was very little different from the Ku Klux Klan, except they owed allegiance to the fascism, which was then predominant, let's say, in all of continental Europe, east of the countries that had been conquered by the Nazis, and to a lesser extent by the Italians. I think they had a hand in Greece and other places. In any case, when the United States entered the war rather reluctantly after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the Silver Shirts became illegal, as they should have been from the beginning. And this gentleman, I use the term advisedly, was placed in the slammer. Well, he suddenly became a trance channel at that point. And what he was channeling was exactly what Ashtar had been preaching to the choir ever since. And it was taken up by people as diverse as George Adamski and George Hunt Williamson, who worked for this organization at one time, and later became a religious cult that was built around trance channeling. That was of the sweetness and light, but by the way, don't do anything about evil. That the prophets, not as in biblical prophets, Nevi'im, rather the family, Mark and Elizabeth Clare Prophet, who at one time had a huge following and still do to some extent. They're centered
Alan,
on.
hold on right there. Alan, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to a quick break here at the bottom of the hour. Author, researcher, good friend of this show, Allen Greenfield. What do aliens want from us tonight on the Mighty SOR? Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, my friend, we are clear.
Okay.
We just
Hello to
got our
your
you. You'd say hi
special
to our YouTube audience and everything.
hi to the YouTube audience. I'm Allen Greenfield, and I'm glad to see you. Hi,
I love you,
folks.
buddy. Thank you.
Well, it's mutual, Dave. You have one of the best places to be able to fully express this stuff because you ask the right questions and then let your guests run with it. And that's terrific. But, ask some questions or I will talk your ear off.
Do you remember
You,
this? Do you remember when I showed you that the first time?
yes, I do.
That's how that happened. Came to me when Olaf's phoned me, and he wasn't on the other end.
Yep, I remember that. I remember it because he and I had a long conversation. Are you sure? Did you butt dial him? What? I didn't know what was going on, but it obviously was enough. I said, get Dave to give me a call in his own time, and I will see if I can be of help because clearly this is an intrusion.
Yeah, I literally still get weirded out. Now, I believe I showed that to Dr. Jack Sarfati
Whoa,
about
yeah.
it, and he said it was some sort of there was a resemblance to the diamond. Nicole, I know you're listening right now. What kind of diamond did he say it was? Because I forgot to write it down, or I think I threw out the piece of paper that he said. I forget what kind of diamond he said it was.
Was it something that could be used in a military context?
No, it was something a little bit more special than that. Maybe
Hmm.
people in my audience remember.
Well, if you still have the super chat running, maybe somebody will tell you. Do you find you draw it in exactly the same way, or has it mutated with
Yeah,
time, your impression?
it's always the same. I've only seen it once.
Once is enough.
Yeah,
A non-call from Olive is a fairly magical thing. And during that period, I will tell you and your YouTube folks that we went through holy hell getting out the original edition of the Black Lodge book. It's like before we got into it, I said, my first publisher, Luminette Press, like everybody other than me, died under mysterious circumstances. You sure you want to do this? And he said, oh, yeah, and at every stage, we had all kinds of problems. And for whatever reason, they fell on Olive, not on me. So we're getting
right.
out second edition any day now that we're having problems getting it out, too. For you'd have to ask Jeff Bezos why the problems are there. But it was supposed to be out so that I could announce it on your program tonight. But it's still this fractured, abused edition that has nothing to do with what we were saying. It has to do with the Black Lot, somewhere between me and then Olive, and then transmitted to the printer or beyond. It was sabotaged. So it has all sorts of, Olive's Press employs
Right.
professional, typesetters and proofreaders, because proofreader I am not.
Yeah.
And still, there were hundreds of uh, mistakes. It's not like it didn't get favorably reviewed. It did, and 5-star.
Right.
But still, there was an effort to basically discount it. So hopefully as of tomorrow, the next day, you will have a completely new, cleaned up edition of the book.
That
I
is
do.
awesome.
I do.
Alan, hold on right there because we are going to come back from break here. Thank you to Creepypasta, Area 53, and Richard for the super chats. Here we go, everybody. Comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go, Allen Greenfield. What do aliens want from humanity? What are they doing here? Are they just coming for our minerals? Are they coming for humans? Are they coming to help us out? Allen, what is the answer to that question?
Yes, yes, and yes, depending on which aliens you're dealing with. I mean, there is, and I don't really understand this one, there is a passion for gold, literally gold, not just money or, and that seems to be a group of aliens that some associate with the ancient Sumeria and particular aliens from a particular source. I'm not real sure about that. I've never directly encountered that, but interestingly enough, this goes back in time to the earliest examples of human beings living very near what are some of the most productive gold and diamond mines in the world, which is in southern Africa, in Zimbabwe and in the Republic of South Africa. So, I want to call it a republic. That was a big mistake, in my opinion. But the other aspects seem to be to convince people that they are working in our interests, and this is by those that are allied with the Black Lodge that I was speaking about in the first segment. And they do not mean us well. They will, of course, it's a bad sales pitch, right? To say, oh, well, we're bad and we'll do bad things to you if you listen to us. Instead, you'll find that Ashtar, or one form of it is called Ashtar Command, comes across like all trans-channeled groups that, hello, we're aliens and we're here to help humanity. All you have to do is, and then that will vary from time to time, but they mean no good for us, and they're best not contacted. They do go by telltale names, which is, I was first known to a wider circle of people outside of ufology by using the secret cipher of the Ufonauts, which had never been used for anything other than magical, very narrow magical purposes by the followers of Aleister Crowley. Or followers, maybe the wrong word, let's say adherents of Crowley's philosophy, which to me sounds like, I don't know, Ayn Rand with some magical razzle-dazzle thrown in. But that's just me. Editorial over. Okay. So their intent is malevolent. How they manifest that malevolence at any one point, it can be relatively harmless stuff like, the end is nigh, make yourself a shelter somewhere in a remote area, enter it, seal the door, and wait. That's not really bad. But then you will have people who, oh, the Hale-Bopp comet is our spaceship. All you have to do is you and your followers need to go to a location, which we will give you the latitude and longitude of, and kill yourselves. If you hear something like that without preparation, what are you going to do? Well, you're not going to go. You're going to get out of the cult, right? But if you've been indoctrinated by their human allies for years and years and years, and that particular cult started with, it should have been a warning, it started with people that were calling themselves Bo and Pete. You're not going to the Hale-Bopp comet, you're just going to die, and by your own hand at that. So that sort of thing can lead you down, I was going to say the primrose path, but it's more like the belladonna path. The last, but certainly not least, are genuinely benevolent beings. By benevolent, I don't mean that they're always nice or sort of interstellar hippies. They're complex beings, more complex than we are, but who have benevolent intent towards the human race. And they represent, first of all, they don't make contact that often because they follow something like those that are familiar with the Star Trek or the Gene Roddenberry original Star Trek ethos. There was the prime directive, which in the show they were always violating, but the prime directive was don't interfere with the natural evolution of a particular society that you happen upon. But they are reluctant to do that, but if they see the malevolent beings interfering and sort of hoping that there will be a global thermonuclear war that will pretty well dispose of their human problem, they will try to in some way inspire positive things that keeps that from happening. And I will point out that since August 9th, 1945, no nuclear weapon has been fired in anger by any country anywhere in the world. And in large part, that has to do with seeing the horrors of the first two nuclear bombs that were dropped on Japan. No country in their right mind, or even teensy-weensy in their wrong mind, is going to bring that down on themselves because there are no winners involved. But the other thing is the secret chiefs and their, if you will, their Patreon in among the, well, I prefer the term from John Keel, ultra-terrestrial to extraterrestrial, because they're not just from other star systems, they're from other reality systems. And interstellar distances are so great that if it were not for things like being able to warp out of our reality and then warp back in, the distances would be too far for there to be any kind of contact, let alone anything more frequent than the Oumuamua, whatever that may have been. It looked like a cigar-shaped UFO, but that's just me. The probability is that if we were visited from another star system, not from Mars, not from any planet that we really know, but from, let's say, Sirius, it would be like once in 10,000 years. And that's all, because of the distances involved. Even if they have some way of hibernating in interstellar space, assuming that you can travel in interstellar space, which if anyone who follows the recent adventures of Voyager 1, interstellar space for living organisms is not a particularly good place to be. Of course, Voyager 1 is not a living organism, but it does report to NASA, and they're finding a lot more hostile environment outside of the sun's protective area than they. However, before I get too deeply into why I prefer ultra-terrestrial to extraterrestrial, it's entirely possible for beings from other planets in our own universe to transit through other realities where in quantum physics, they may be right there with you or right here with me, just a silly millimeter away from us at any given time. So if you dip into let's say, a universe where the distances from star A to our sun is much, much closer, then there could be visitors, as in the UFO cases, which are all near the Earth or on the Earth, not out in space, deep space, and which appear and disappear, along with other phenomena from ghosts to Bigfoot, just as if they were discarnate beings, because they can be discarnate beings. So I'm roping in a lot of territory there, but it is deliberate. After a certain amount of time and persistent investigation, you begin to see that all of the high weirdness phenomena are one and the same thing seen under different circumstances. So I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but it's a complex question, and I'm giving the best answer I can that is, straightforward. People will give you a fractional answer, and that's what you get from most of the classical contactees, and even from some of the close encounter people of the third kind, such as the Hills, or interestingly enough, Joe Simonton, or a case I investigated down in Brooksville, Florida, the John Reeves case, which has all sorts of implications. But what they see and what they report are not necessarily what they get. And they require a certain amount of, how shall I put it, decoding.
I want to ask you in regards to the alien species that are here. Recently, Dr. Eric Davis came out and stated that it was some sort of 4 different species: the insectoids, the reptilians, the humanoids, and the greys. I mean, is that all that's here? And if so, what are they doing here?
No, I don't think that's all. That's not exhaustive at all. Not to, contradict your other guests, but I probably could come up with 100 different forms. And Whitley Strieber really nailed it down when he said they can take different forms right in front of you. So there's a certain amount of disinformation involved in saying, well, I don't think the greys are even real beings. I think that they are what are called in the East tulpas, thought forms that are projected, and often are projected by powerful human magicians in order to scare people away from reporting cases that are important. And I say that because on occasion, these beings will pose as Air Force personnel, and nobody from the Air Force has shown up, and pose as FBI agents, and no FBI agents were involved. They can also pose as scary aliens and begin by saying, oh, we just want to find out your story. We're from the Flying Saucer Investigation Club. And then they proceed to scare the bejesus out of these witnesses that they don't want going to the media or to your program. And they can be very successful at that unless they disappear in plain sight, which sometimes they do, which is characteristics of tulpas, or in magic, there's the so-called budwill. These are thought forms that become material through some kind of material basis, and that will dissolve after a certain amount of time and have no independent existence of their own. That can also branch off into cases of which I'm closely acquainted to one in particular, of possession, where these malevolent forces take possession of a person and become a man in black or a person in black. There's some female ones as well, or that's what they're posing as, and who goes back to being an ordinary human. And the giveaway is, in a possession case, if you are an exorcist, as I am, you probably can get rid of it. But in these cases, you don't have to get rid of it. It disappears, and the person has no memory of having been a man in black.
Right.
That's the one I took a picture of, and who disappeared around a corner. And I looked around the corner, and it was a warehouse district with no doors you could dart into or anything. And this thing was gone after I had a little confrontation with it unexpectedly. So there you go. I mean, that definitely was a tulpa or a possessed being who was teleported back to, actually, they did this in Ohio, and you don't want to have secrets about UFOs in Ohio, because you can't shake a bush without finding a very seasoned ufologist. The Cleveland Ufology Project with my friend from my teen ufology days, Rick Hilberg, is still very prominent in that. And there's a UFO group in every town, so that you're not likely to get away with something as difficult as a possession case and posing as a man in black during the middle of the Mothman wave in West Virginia.
We have about 6 minutes to go before we have to go to break tonight on Spaced Out Radio at the top of the hour. Allen Greenfield is our guest right now. Allen, the fact that people are being taken, some people are having great encounters, others are having horrific, nightmarish encounters. How do we know which species are the ones harming us or being good to us?
Well, if they're behaving in a really negative way, like the endless physical exams that involves intimate bodily probes that they've done for 1,000 other people, clearly that's to terrify the person, especially if they're held down, especially if they're bound up. There's no question there. There's no benevolent force that would do that. The problem comes that some will come across as benevolent and not be, and you have to exercise. This is something that in magical circles that has to be wrestled with. You can conjure up a being, and that being can be an angel or a demon if you want to use shorthand. But you really have to develop a certain set of skills to know which it is, because they both will say that they're angelic, or that they have benevolent purposes, or they are aliens from the planet Pewam and have come here with the gift of immortality or whatever. Sometimes if the claim is too extravagant, like they're here to neutralize all nuclear weapons and usher in an era of worldwide peace, that comes directly from the Black Lodge. That is something that has been out there since since forever, really. And since that promised world has not come to be, one would consider that promise excessive and always broken. And you can reach, a very obvious conclusion from that. If they promise you everything and give you nothing but grief, they're bad. If they make little promises and fulfill them, they probably are coming from a good source. How they look certainly doesn't do it. There are beings that to us would be hideously ugly that are utterly benevolent. And there are beings that look like, this would be with succubi and incubi, sexually attractive, alluring beings, or angelic beings giving you the gift of life or whatever, but their agenda, as you unfold it, seems to be something else. Then how they look is not a reflection of what they are, which, by the way, is good advice for people dealing with other people as well. How we look doesn't necessarily mean who we are.
Are they us from the future?
No, I don't think so. I've heard that in recent years, and I think that's the alternative to the
right.
It's the alternative to the interplanetary theory, but it's also the alternative to the many worlds theory. And many worlds seems to be where physics is going. Time travel is a much more problematic thing. Also, if they were us from the future, I'm not sure that they would be coming to any place that we would see, because to change the past is to risk the grandfather paradox. Do I need to explain what that is? Do we have time?
Please.
Okay, the
We
grandfather.
got 2 minutes.
Oh, I can do it in 1 minute. The grandfather paradox is envisioning a time traveler going into the past and killing their great grandfather. Now think about the paradox involved there. If they killed their great grandfather,
Right.
it would mean that they would cease to exist in the future, because maybe some version of them would exist, but not the version that had killed the grandfather. Hence, nobody killed the grandfather. So it is unlikely that we are encountering, even if time travel is possible, anyone from the future of our civilization in any way, shape, or form.
That is so weird.
It is.
Weird.
Yeah, I think it originally came from science fiction circles. Probably someone like Asimov came up with it originally, and it basically is testing the notion of time travel, because let alone the technological necessities involved there, the paradox of time travel is if you touch anything in the past, the butterfly effect may be in effect, and it may cancel out the time traveler. You can't know. You really can't know. And of course, if you disappear, nobody knows the next time traveler is going to make the same kind of mistake. So probably, even if it's possible, they would choose not to do that. On the other hand, beings from elsewhere have no such compunctions.
Do they have a heart? Do they have a soul?
Soul, I'm not in a position, of course, to judge anyone on that ground. I'm neither a saint nor a deity, but in my opinion, they have a soul, or they wouldn't be animate. Now, that would not be true of the tulpas. They have no internal existence at all. They resemble a living being, but they're never alive. And I think that anything that exists that has life has a soul. It may not be exactly the same as ours, but it is an immortal being waiting to unfold. And that is my eschatology and theology.
Allen, hold on right there. We're going to go to break. Allen Greenfield is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned for hour number 2, right around the corner. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. Quickly, everyone, I know the audio is not kosher on YouTube. I have to try and find a level of balance between the podcast radio side and the YouTube side. That's what we're working on. I have Tim in the background working with me, trying to make this work. So just be patient with us, guys. We know we're trying to find that balance and still run a show at the same time without having to cancel Allen for the rest of the night in order to get the audio going. So please, I just appreciate your patience. Dirty Filth, let's turn it over to you, my friend.
I hope I'm not having any audio interference or anything. I don't think the aliens want much to do with me, to be honest. Ghost in the Machine. Oh yeah, Dead Fish. That's a great film. Actually, I believe I own an old VHS copy of that sucker. Yeah, Timmy's on there untangling the wires. Ooh, Grantavius Flavius Maximus, Legio 13. My Bruderschaft. I love you, Grant. You're the best in the world. Hi, Jennifer. Oh, hi, Alan.
Hi.
Hi, Bob.
Hi. That was me.
I bonked my microphone here. I'm not as professional with all the microphone stuff. Hey, Bob Birkins, look at that. Oh, look at those hands. Look at those, Bob. If I die before you, I will have them pickled and sent to you for your hand collection.
Let's give him a hand. What do you say?
I think Bob Birkins has like a collection of jars with hands in them at his house. He's just got them nicely labeled and everything, and they're all pickled.
Scary. How do I sound? I'm wondering if it's on my end in some way, shape, or fashion.
Well, it sounds good. It's a little bit windy almost sounding.
Yeah, because this, I tried to use my laptop because it has a noise suppressor, but I'm really doing this under on my phone, which is not really equipped to do radio, TV stuff.
It's
But
still,
here we are.
It's still good enough, sir. It's all good. Nobody minds.
Well,
We'll just
I
have to
won't
bring it back again.
usually sing whether it's wanted or not, but I won't sing tonight because that will break the meter, you know. Oh!
Well, sometimes Dave sings on the show. If somebody's birthday comes on, he always sings them happy birthday.
What a man. He sketches, he sings, he talks, he interviews. I mean, a man for all seasons.
I think he'd like a little bit more summer. Same with me.
Me
But
too.
He lives on top of a mountain, so
I know. The aliens in his backyard once provoked him to give me a call, but that's a long story in and of itself.
That's a story for another time, kids. Let's
Same
gather around, have some.
That's
another story. That's a story for another time, kids, and we'll have to have some lemonade for that one. Spicy lemonade.
Spike.
Yes. It's got to have a little kick to it.
Big kick in the rear is what I would say.
Yeah, kicking the old rumpers will do you in. Where's Bob going? If you're leaving Bob Birkins, then have a good night. Oh yes, I'm leaving after this. I have to give the cats snacks. That's correct.
Well,
This is the Space Brog, call sign Gremlin. He's my orange cat, and he's not very smart because he's orange. So, but he's a good fella. He jumped up on my lap a couple times today, and he just sits there and becomes a heavy, gigantic weight of doom.
Right. Okay, Dirty Filth, I need to cut you off a little bit early here because I got Tim on the other end trying to hear my audio.
It's okay, Dave.
So,
I still love you, man. Have a good night, everybody.
Apologize, buddy. Alan, if you could just give me a second here.
Okay. Should I talk to give you a level or?
No, I'm going to mute you for a second here, okay?
Okay.
And Dirty, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate you. And let's go like this. Bring that down to about there. And testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Greg, how you doing from Bonnie, Scotland? Nice to have you here. All right, Alan, I'm going to get you to talk here. Just give me a countdown from 10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate you. We're coming back in 5 seconds, guys. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Echophobia. Echophobia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we have Allen Greenfield coming on in for hour number 2. What do aliens want with us? Let us see. Allen, thank you so much for being here.
Well, I am always honored to be on your program.
Allen, a lot of people claim that aliens are bad. We hear this threat narrative coming from the United States saying we got to be careful of what's going on. We got to watch our contact. You know, the UFOs are bad, and everything is kind of moving towards that direction. What is your thoughts of this threat narrative that we keep hearing about?
Well, I think that mostly the governmental warnings about, the aliens are all bad, have more to do with perceptions about Chinese balloons, let's say, which people with a good memory will remember a couple of years ago how mysterious balloon-like, what were first UFOs, or I don't like the term UAP because I think it implies that it's not exactly real, but they turned out to be, quote, Chinese weather balloons, although they seem to hover over nuclear missile silos, which upset some people, and one of them got shot down. If they were aliens, shooting them down would be perhaps the stupidest thing you could possibly do. So I think that level of interest, that and the more recent mysterious drone, I don't think attacks is exactly right, but many drones are seen and not accounted for, mostly over New Jersey, but really scattered across North America. There is a great deal of governmental interest in anything that may be some, nefarious Chinese or North Korean or whatever origin. I don't think that their interest is the, shall we say, non-terrestrial. Rather, their major interest is in more conventional thinking. And I think that they mostly, when they say something about, about aliens being dangerous, that's so that they can have a clear view of what's going on with international spy versus spy. I think that there are, I don't know if the word evil applies, but there are evil aliens, and I think there are good aliens, and I think there are some that are just explorers. But there's no, set pattern. What you do is you judge by what they do. If they do things that are bad, that's bad. If they do things that are good, that's good. If they do things that are observational, well, if they're not from China and they're observing nuclear missile silos, they probably are concerned that we're going to destroy ourselves.
Have you ever had personally a poor or bad encounter with extraterrestrials?
Yes. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of it because I use it as a kind of test for the authenticity of other people's accounts. But this was a case where I, very early in my career, I got a bit on the cocky side, and I thought that I could handle anything. So I beamed out. If you're out there, I would like to speak with you. And this presence that was more like a black hole than like an entity manifested and started moving towards me, and all of the defenses that I had thought that I'd had, ranging from a shotgun to magical things, none of them I realized without even employing them. Nothing that I did could keep this thing from devouring me if it needed to. And that was good enough for me. I've never tried to do that sort of thing again. There is one other occasion that I believe it was a human being in the pay of the either the Black Lodge or their masters in ultra-terrestrial origins. And it's a very long story, but I'll give you the gist of it. In my days as an initiate in the Ordo Templi Orientis, OTO, which I am no longer and have for a long time not been affiliated with, this person who was a dead ringer for Charles Manson showed up at an event we were having at the local lodge in Atlanta. That was Euless Lodge number 10, OTO Incorporated, which no longer exists, but was a rather large lodge. And it was having a gathering in honor of the lodge master from New Orleans that was visiting. And this Charles Manson lookalike showed up, and I was just sitting, as I often do, not being a party person, in the corner, and observing this person was going around, and this will kind of date when it was. He was preaching to people one-on-one how everything was coming to a head because of the harmonic convergence. You'd have to be involved in high strangeness for a long time to even remember that. At the time, I thought, well, I've been through so many end-of-the-world predictions that I really don't even, pay attention to them. Pay attention, but not with a liberal box of salt, never mind a grain. So I thought, well, this guy looks like Manson, and he's sabotaging each person, including I believe, if I recall correctly, the lodge master from New Orleans. And I decided, okay, this guy is pulling some kind of scam and saying, well, essentially, the end will come on the day of the harmonic convergence, and he gave a specific date, which is long, long past. So I just watched. And then when he went to leave, I followed him out of the door of the lodge house. And indeed, he was about to get into this. Now, this is way late for this sort of thing, sometime in the 1980s. But it was an honest-to-God hippie van, you know, a Volkswagen van with the flowers and stuff on it. And inside, I could see several other people, all of whom looked like Charles Manson. So Manson was already in prison, so I was under no illusion that it was the original. But I thought I would do something clever, and I said to the guy as he was stepping in behind the wheel, I said, you know, you've been talking to all these people about their end date, the date of the harmonic convergence. Let me tell you your end date. And I made up a date out of the, just out of the top of my head. And I could see, I really scared him. He stopped getting in the van for a minute, lost his composure. And then he went ahead and got in. And I thought, I got this guy. I don't know who sent him, but somebody sent him. End of scene. Scene 2, the OTO Lodge had a somewhat checkered relationship with neo-pagan groups because they're basically on a different channel. And as a goodwill gesture, the then lodge master invited our public ceremony, or semi-public ceremony, was the Gnostic Mass, Liber 15. And we invited the dignitaries from the largest Wiccan coven in this area to come and see our Gnostic Mass. And the lady, I believe it was Lady Galadriel, and one of her members showed up, and being at that time the lowly greeter who had the job of assessing whether people were happy with their visit, I said, so what did you think? And I probably can't repeat on the air what she said, but she was less than amused. But anyway, so they did invite us to come to one of their semi-public events. And as a spin-off of which we did, and as a spin-off of that, we got invited to this regional neo-pagan gathering that was at a remote location. It was sort of like all of these hippy-dippy gatherings. It was at a state park with the odd name, the Hard Labor Creek State Park. But in any case, so about half a dozen people from the lodge, including me, went down to this lodge and to this gathering. I think it was called the Spiral Gathering. I doubt that it exists anymore. But it had about 150 people present, which is a good turnout for that sort of thing in the Deep South. And we had a dining hall, and they gave us, because the whole core of the lodge had shown up, they gave us I guess it must be a summer camp during summer, because they gave us this freestanding building that had like 8 bunks. So we fit in there, and we would go to eat with the hoi polloi, our hosts and other groups that had shown up. And there was the same guy, never had seen him before and never since, that looked like Manson. And as people were sitting down to eat, he had one of his associates ringing a bell and saying, okay, we're going to pass out, we're going to have a raffle for the benefit of cleaning up Mount Arabia. And immediately that was a heads up to me, because at that time, Arabia Mountain was practically unknown except to me and a handful of other people, even people that lived in the neighboring town. Arabia Mountain, which you can look up in the Wikipedia, is a monadnock, that is a bald outcropping that became a bald outcropping from millions of years ago, being rained on, and silt is gathered around the base of it, and in the silt grew trees and other wild flora around the base of it, so that people in the neighboring town didn't even know this mountain was there. And when actually I discovered it on when I was in grammar school, they took us there on a field trip, and I thought, wow, this is a really impressive place. And after that, there's this whole series of magical things that we would go out there to do. And the locals didn't even know that we were there. That changed more recently. But anyway, it was my power spot. Some people will know about my Great Arabia working, which was 15 years of giving empowerments to people, which is my policy. Do it. Don't charge for it. Don't hook anybody into any particular system of beliefs. Just give them the empowerments, and they can do with it according to their own right ingenium, I guess you would say. So the guy out of nowhere is mentioning cleaning up. Didn't really need cleaning up, Arabia Mountain. And if you invest $1, you will get a piece of paper that will be put in this bingo type roller, and they will pull out one name. They got about 100 people to give $1. I thought, well, if this is what I think it is, there's only one person whose name is going to be pulled out there, and it's mine. And that's exactly what happened. So the guy said, okay, we're going to send a slave to give you breakfast tomorrow. I thought, oh, great, I don't eat breakfast. Probably they know that too. But maybe that'll be the end of it. So I said, well, but I knew that it was a shill. In some way, it was supposed to be entrapping me. And indeed, one of it from a different group altogether, a rival OTO group from upstate New York, showed up, and I basically said, I don't eat breakfast, give it to my brethren here. And that was what was done. So I figured, well, if this guy was trying to intimidate me or make me stand out or whatever, that's not really a big deal. So do we have time to give you the kicker?
We got about 5 minutes, Alan.
Okay, well, I'll do it very quickly. So the last day of this gathering came, and I thought, well, I've gotten away with it. And I walked down to have the last luncheon that I'm going to have there at their assembly hall. And standing between me and the door is this same guy. And I thought, oh, goodness. Goodness was not the word that came to mind, but we're on the radio, so you can imagine what I thought. Do I not have lunch, or do I just walk past this guy, or confront him and tell him to peddle his papers or whatever? And I wasn't sure as I was walking up towards him, and I thought about bypassing him, and he holds out his hand as if to handshake. Well, among other things, I am a Southern gentleman, and reflexively, I held out my hand. And if you know the Borgia poison ring deal, I think that came from Lucretia Borgia originally. They would wear a ring that on the inside of the ring was a sharp point. And on the sharp point, there was poison. And the minute I grabbed his hand, I realized I had made a fatal mistake because there was a sharp point that he pushed into my hand. And I thought, I'm dead. What am I going to do? There's nothing I can do. So I went in and I sat in front of the food that I was not going to eat because I was just waiting for the end. And nothing else happened. It was a warning. I didn't realize that until days later. I kept waiting for, the poison to take effect. It's just a delayed reaction. There's no poison, but it was clearly a poison ring, and the message was very clear. Listen, Mr. Smarty Pants, we can get you anytime we want to. Duly noted. End of story.
Do you think the aliens that are out there or the ultra-terrestrials that are out there are from outside the planet? Are they time travelers? Are they from a different dimension? Or is it a mixture of all?
It's probably a mixture of all. I don't think they're from the Earth that we know, but I think they're from alternate realities that overlap with our world. There was a famous book in the 1890s by a guy, I remember his name is Edwin Abbott. It's called Flatland, and it's about two-dimensional beings and what they make of a three-dimensional sphere that appears in their midst. We are three-dimensional beings, or if you like, four-dimensional beings, that are coincident with, if one version of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is correct, a multiplicity of other universes that coincide with our own and that came into existence pretty much at the same time our universe came into existence at the Big Bang, and continue to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the omniverse. And each has its own rules of physics, and each has its own circumstances. Of course, many of them are not inhabitable, but if you have an infinite number, you have inhabited universes, but they may be inhabited by beings that have no relationship to what we think of as, usually aliens look very alien, but they usually have two eyes and a mouth and maybe even a nose, and they can be blue or green or white or black or yellow or, any of the colors that human beings are or envision. Or they can be something else altogether, from a different spectrum altogether, with a different star or stars or multiple star system. And in turn, they can be from this other reality. I think that some of their characteristics are consistent with that theoretical framework, or they could pass into a reality that is closer than the nearest inhabitable star system, if any, and come from that star system, but via one of these other realities where we're much closer.
Allen Greenfield, everybody. We will be back with the second half of SOR right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, Alan, we're clear.
Okay. Am I doing okay? It seems like I'm getting really into the weeds here, but you're asking basic questions, so I'm, giving you the truth. It's just, I hope
like
I'm
it when you ramble, my man. I like it when you're rambling.
ramble. I don't ramble. I speak okay. I got you. Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't too deep in the weeds for your general audience. I'm sure that your regulars have heard it all before, but maybe not my take on it. But I'm sure you have some people who go, "What? What's that?"
You're doing great.
Okay, great.
You're doing great.
Well,
all right. I think we got the audio figured out now. Thank you, Tim, on the other end. Should sound good for all of you now. I'm having fun. Every time you're on the air, Alan, it's fun.
Well, anytime you want, just give me a little notice, and all singing, all dancing, and hopefully I'll have a new computer then, so I won't be talking on my tiny phone and my arm is going to sleep on me. That's okay.
Well, it sounds great here, so
I can manage it.
Yeah, you're doing great. Thank you for that.
Plan. I am wedged on a sleeping bag that I use for
bad. That's comfy.
Yeah, it is. There's my plants. And I don't have a cat, but I should.
Well, I think you're doing great tonight, so I'm appreciating it. That's for sure.
Well, that's a large part of what counts, and you certainly do ask the right questions. I mean, that gets down to what do you really think, and here we go. What I really think is contrary to what the disclosure people are expecting that will never happen, and the straight extraterrestrial people also think is going to happen, and if it was, it would have happened a long time ago.
Agreed. Totally agree. If they were trying to take over humanity, they would have got us when our biggest weapons were spears and bow and arrows.
Yep, that's exactly right. Or they would have created spears and fire and given it to us, hoping that we would burn ourselves up or skewer each other, which we've done a fair job of, but I think that is not the motivation involved. In fact, I know it. I mean, that's clearly not, because logic dictates why hover and be seen for thousands and thousands of years, if not forever, and basically never have, the mass landing, never do something that fundamentally changes our relationship with the rest of the universe. We haven't. It's all hints. And that should really tell us something about the motivations of whoever and whatever they are. Whatever they are, I think, is multiple, just like the many worlds interpretation. That was a big change for me if I had to go back to school, I would study math and physics more so than the humanities that I studied all the way through PhD level. It's just good conversation pieces, but doesn't really get to where the truth is in the mathematics, I think.
We've got about 45 seconds before we're coming back on. Big thank you tonight to Richard, Area 53 at Creepypasta, for the wonderful super chats. Thank you very much for the love, everybody. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out and have some good clothing to go along with it. Yeah. That's how we do it around here. We'll add another West Area 53 super chat to the total, too. Thank you, buddy. Here we go in 7 seconds. We're past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Allen Greenfield, we have until the top of the hour. He is the author of the ever-changing, everlasting book, The Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots. And here we are talking ultra-terrestrials and their bid to either help or take over humanity. Alan, why would an alien species want to help people here?
Well, maybe it's just that they're altruistic, or maybe they have been through, more likely, a similar process themselves at some point and have received help from even more advanced beings, and in turn they received help from even more advanced beings. That is the most likely explanation for why they would want to help. But of course, there's always the possibility that they have some, I don't mean this in a negative way, some ulterior reason that they don't really want us to know, because that would be, for all I can say for absolute sure, maybe an angel of God came to them and said, help humanity. And they said, yeah, okay, Lord, I'm with it. I mean, it could be something as simple as that, or just their moral compass is so much more perfected than unfortunately ours is, that they feel compelled to be helpful to any sentient being that has not attained to very, very high levels, which the bulk of humanity is not. I believe it was in the first segment tonight I was referring to the Eastern, mostly Buddhist, but also Hindu concept of the bodhisattva, which is a very highly evolved but human being who is capable of going on to what they call Buddhahood, or in Hinduism it would be Brahman or moksha, which is a state of consciousness at one with the universe. In Buddhism, it is nirvana, which is a word that has no translation in English, and people who try are not doing you or me a favor. It's a very ancient Sanskrit and Pali term. But they choose not to go on to nirvana or moksha or any of that, but rather to take an oath that they will not go on to higher states of being than their own until all sentient beings, by which they mean every living thing on the earth anyway, and maybe on a multiplicity of worlds, other planets, other dimensions, whatever, until they have helped everyone to at least attain to the level that they're at presently. Now, the Western equivalent of that is not a real close equivalent, but it's basically the Oath of the Abyss, which is scarier, I guess, or at least seems that way to me. But it's basically, if you risk crossing the great abyss on the Tree of Life, that's from Tiferet, the heart, to Keter, the crown, that is from being a mortal being to being at one with the universe, but not quite absorbed into it or becoming part of it, or whichever version people are capable of knowing. But there is risk involved there, because if you fall off of the narrow path, you get devoured by the Lord of the Abyss. And the interesting thing there is, I mean, you can take all of this to be essentially symbolic, or you can take it very literally. But some very high adepts choose to go on, and they are no longer part of our sensibilities at all. There are others that choose, as I said, to take the oath of the abyss and to help suffering humanity to go to their level so that they can go on. And then there is a third group. And they are the ones who really like the privilege of being such advanced beings that they don't want any competition. They don't want anybody helping humanity. They don't want beings that go on. They settle on the near side of the great abyss. And any being or person that is coming up, becoming more enlightened, they slap them down. And by slap them down, I mean divert them, mesmerize them, tempt them, or kill them. And none of those are off the table, including if they think the human race is on the verge of some kind of breakthrough, which is something I can see either way. They would not be adverse if we got egged into doing a global thermonuclear war and wiping ourselves out, because then they would have no future competition. So all of those are in play. And if you have extensive direct knowledge of alien beings, all of those things are going on, and probably things that I don't know about. But those are clear to me, and they're clear to anybody who, delves deeply enough, long enough, and manages to survive.
Is it about survival, or is it about trying to expand not only the history or the future of humanity, but our own consciousness as well?
Well, it's certainly about that, but you have to survive in order to do that. It isn't raw survival. I mean, that's built into our genes. The reason that very enlightened beings are afraid of death is because it's built into our genes. If it wasn't, we would have gone extinct long ago. Saber-toothed tigers, if you weren't afraid of them and didn't climb a tree or run away, they would be eaten. So any sort of, forgive me, hippy-dippy race of beings that had no fear of death would have been long since gone from this mortal coil, whether they were afraid or not. But I think that Hello?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Well, I got an interesting signal from one of them just now. Okay. To define your term. Define your terms. Just flashed on my screen. Okay. I wonder if it flashed on your YouTube people's screen. Anyway, it wasn't me. I mean, it's a total surprise and stopped me in my tracks. But I think that kind of survival is built in. That's why even if you are convinced of life beyond this life and perhaps reincarnation until you perfect, or any one of a number of different theoretical constructs, which I think all of them are true, you still, confronted with a firing squad, you're going to look for an alibi to get out of it, because that is hardwired into us. But also very basic to the human soul, which is immortal in my very firm opinion, is the desire to become a better being, to become a more aware being, and the the high intuition that if we work at it, we can ascend to higher realms and help others to ascend, is just, that's also the way we are. Not necessarily every being in the universe is that way, but we are. So I don't mean raw survival. I mean survival in order to attain.
Let's go to some audience questions here because they are starting to come in here, Alan. I want to get the audience involved. Let's start off with Trace here, who is asking, what do you think the aliens want from us?
That depends on which aliens we're dealing with, but I'll try to give that a good answer. The benevolent aliens want us to take their advice under advisement. They don't want to dictate. They want us to take it under advisement. And just like my friends with the group that are doing the Hellier series, to follow the synchronicities until they attain a higher state of being simply by following the synchronicities that are from the benevolent beings. The neutral beings, that is, they are interested in us in the same way we might be interested in, say, the great apes. They just want to see what we do. They don't want to influence what we do. They want to see what we do, good, bad, or otherwise. The malevolent beings want to mess with us. And that can be just as minor as diverting us from a productive path to spending a fortune on some self-improvement program that doesn't improve anybody except the person or persons creating the program. It can range all the way from that to having their physical, they're not physical beings, they can manifest physically, but they're not going to directly affect us. But they can hire mercenaries, underworld figures, and sometimes people, well, not sometimes, a lot of the time, people disappear without a trace. Well, where do they go? Do they go to the planet B-Bomb, or do they go someplace that is not so nice? I knew Richard Shaver pretty well, and his contention was the people that disappear without a trace are taken by underworld figures that are in the pay of the Black Lodge or the alien beings or the descendants of alien beings. They're taken into the caves where these degenerate beings will use them as slaves, or being cannibalistic will eat them. And that they do that with thousands of people every year. I don't think the cave part of that is true. I think there are portals to other dimensions, many of which are in caves or on mountaintops, or oddly enough, under the convergence of ley lines, where often things of spiritual importance are built, including many churches and synagogues and other religious monuments, but also, even like beneath some churches in Europe, you will find a Mithraeum, which is literally the basement of the church. Was even after the Christian church became the religion of the Roman Empire, a good many people, mostly from the military, tended to follow the Persian god Mithra in the Roman Empire. And throughout the Roman Empire, you will find places where a Mithraeum, a place where the followers of Mithra would have their own version of a mass with the sacrifice of a bull that they would drink the blood of and therefore be immortal. very important to soldiers back then. I imagine more so than other people, because soldiers were apt to have, shall we say, short lifespans. So all of these locations, including caves, are where the portals that are permanent exist. I will say parenthetically, and it's probably not time to go into tonight, but advanced magicians using things like Enochian magic can create and open a portal directly to one or another of these multiplicities of other universes. It's where a lot of my experience comes from. Unfortunately, some people are more eager to open them than they are to close them, and it's a very unpleasant thing if you know how to open one and don't know how to close it, particularly if you're in a room full of people. Yeah, you can impress them for an hour by opening a portal, but if you don't know how to close it, things can just keep on coming out, and not necessarily things that you would want to be part of our world. Depends on where you are and what ether you're in.
Let's go to another question, Alan. Let's go over to Scott, who is asking, the Anunnaki are ascended. Are lesser species here to get Anunnaki DNA from human DNA?
That's an interesting question that I've never thought of before. That is probably true, and that would really tie into what I was just talking about, those disappearances. If you assume that some of the disappearances, and again, I'm talking about those that are without a trace, not the errant husband who moved to San Diego and changed his name. That's got an explanation, and generally those people show up sooner or later. But there are thousands and thousands of cases annually, many of them in national parks. You'll find them coming from the Great North Country and Yukon Territory and the Northwest Territories. They, which is also, interestingly enough, a Sasquatch hangout, which I think is, shall we say, a related phenomenon. The DNA that may be extracted during these close encounter cases where you have a physical exam may be to extract DNA. And if it's done over and over, why not the DNA of the quote unquote gods, which would be what you're speaking of when you talk about the Anunnaki? At least that's what the Sumerians thought they were. I think they were alien beings who were benevolent and who were amphibious in nature, which accounts for the proclivity of these beings to teach by day and to go back into what is now the Persian Gulf by night. But in the viewpoint of the late Stone Age, that is, and the early Bronze Age, these beings would appear to be gods. And there may be value to alien beings who, though they may be technologically ahead of us, or who just have easier portals to open. So it may be a natural phenomenon in their universe. And that's speculation, but they may feel that we have within our DNA certain things from other types of alien beings that if they extract it, they can thereby grow. And in a way, that's a kind of cannibalism too, because I imagine if they're extracting it, they don't return people to their homes most of the time. Although, a lot of people say they've had that kind of unpleasant medical procedure and then be returned home, only to become marked people in the sense that they have additional experiences year after year, decade after decade for the rest of their lives. So very possibly It's not something that I have, well, I don't have any inside knowledge on that, but it's certainly possible.
Let's go over to Carrie here. Have you ever heard of Solar Warden?
I can't say that I have, not under that name. Solar Warden?
Solar Warden.
I don't know. I'll run it through the cipher and see what happens.
Yeah, Solar Warden is a conspiracy surrounding the secret space program coming out of the 80s.
Oh, well, let me put it this way. The way I continue to get new information and so far have not been killed off is I don't do any particular conspiracy theory because therein lies madness. Like one of the things that I have said of the Black Lodge is they directly fund QAnon. Now, I know that's going to upset some people that are believers in what QAnon says, but I have very good reason to suspect that they are deliberately doing disinformation. And that applies to an awful lot of conspiracy notions. It's best to take what you can find out yourself and that people that you can rely on have found, and not start to see I don't know. At one time there was a book. I'm not going to mention the name of it because I have had correspondence with the author and have since persuaded him otherwise. But he had the OTO as the central conspiracy ruling the world in secret. And the first thing I told him was, look, these are people that I know, top to bottom, and they couldn't lead a Boy Scout march on a burlesque house. Which is something I borrowed from some comedian. I think it was George Carlin, actually. And the second thing he said was the head of this conspiracy is James Wasserman and Allen Greenfield, who happen to have the most Jewish-sounding names in the OTO at that time. And Wasserman has passed on. But I passed to this guy the knowledge and wisdom that running the world, Wasserman and I can't stand to be in the same room together. So, there was a built-in conspiracy theory that the source of the theory was a good person who was persuadable and was persuaded there was no conspiracy at all. There was just people that tried to do the great work in each their own way, and some are doing productive things and some are not. So beware of conspiracies. They usually lead to the Jews are poisoning the well or some variation of that. The Jews created 9/11. Well, no, I'm sorry. A disproportionate number of people that were killed on 9/11 were employees of Cantor Fitzgerald, and they were themselves Jewish. So it's easy to blame whatever the fall group is, whether it's black people, people from Asia, or whatever. End of sermon. Mass is ended. Go in peace.
And great. Let's see if we can sneak in one more here, Alan. We got about 35 seconds. From Derek. Alan, which NHI race is the most harmful to humanity and its future?
The lizard beings, variously called, they've always been lizard-like, and I think that they don't always take that form, but they invariably revert to that form at some point. Stay away from them and don't believe anything that they say.
Alan, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. It is always a pleasure to have you here on the show. We will do it again soon. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller, then Little Timmy James, and the UFO Report, the shortened edition. Spaced Out Radio's Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Thank you, Alan. Very much appreciate you, my friend.
Okay, I'm not sure how. Oh, I think there's the leave button. Okay, it's been fun, Dave, and let's do it again less than 2 years apart or something. And I think the last time you had the wrong phone number. It's really my number, but it's like it's the landline, which is my legacy, and I never even pay attention to it. So I didn't hear until too late. Anyway, if you call this number, I'm here 24/7, 365 until I'm not.
Appreciate it, buddy. You take care.
You take care too. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Dark Woods, we've been checking. We've been having audio troubles for the last everything. We know what's going on. We're trying to find a balance right now. So, yes, I do know that my microphone is a little low on the YouTube side. We're trying to figure it out all night long. So, thank you, though, for your concern. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. There we go. Hey, Tim James.
Hello, Dave Scott.
How are you?
I'm good.
How am I sounding to you?
Better?
Yeah?
Mm-mm-mm.
All right. I just checked my YouTube audio
Yeah.
during the break, and I sound tinny.
You sound tinny, but you also sound just a little muffled.
I wasn't hearing the muffled. I was hearing the tinny.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it got better near the end there when we were messing around. So I think you probably have to work on it a little more somewhere here.
Yeah, I got to change this board.
That might have something to do with it for sure.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be changing the board soon. Maybe tomorrow.
You just never know.
Maybe tomorrow we'll get her done. Like, I can't adjust my levels anymore. That's
Really?
the problem I'm having.
You're peaked right out.
Well, I've got you down. I've got the guest down way. So you being the guest, I've got you way down.
Gotcha.
Like if I look at my levels right now, I am like above peaking, and I've got you down about half of what I am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. And we want to give a shout out to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally everywhere as well. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Echophobia. Echophobia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hi there. I have a story that happened to me in Bristol, Virginia. I was around 6 years old, and we lived in a house built in the early 1970s. The house layout was quite simple. When you stepped inside, you walked straight into a large living room and kitchen area. My parents' bedroom and my little brother's room were to the left. To the right was a long hallway. On the left side was the bathroom, and on the right was the basement door. At the end of the hallway, my bedroom was on the left, and across from it was an empty room. Now that you know the layout, I can tell you just what happened. One night, I had my bedroom door open while I was comfortably in bed, in a rather deep sleep. Suddenly, I woke up with the overwhelming feeling that I was being watched from the empty space in my room. The air around me felt entirely too cold. It was freezing, but at this point in the year, it was rather warm. So, this didn't make any sense. A heavy dread filled the space, but as quickly as it came, the feeling vanished, and I eventually went back to sleep. The following day, my parents left to go to the store, taking my little brother with them, leaving me alone in the house. I was playing on my bed when the dreadful feeling returned. I turned to look at the empty space again, and there he was. A man dressed in what looked like a Civil War uniform stood there, staring at me. When our eyes met, he suddenly started running toward me, and then he vanished into thin air. I was screaming out of fear. When my parents finally came home, I told them what had happened, but they brushed it off, saying it was probably nothing, just my imagination. It's an old house, you know. But ever since that night, I have continued to see him. Even years later, after moving out, I still see him standing there at the end of my bed every now and then. It feels good to finally share it because it's something that has haunted me my entire life.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more, just like that, head on over to our YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and make sure you listen to the thousands of stories that are there for free. Time for the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Yeah, we've been having audio troubles all night tonight trying to figure it out. So for people who can't hear us, turn your volume up,
Crank it up.
right? Turn your volume up. Make sure you can hear us. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good, and you?
You know, the worst thing as a host that you
Mhm.
can have is when you're having technical difficulties during the show
Yeah.
and you're trying to fix them, and no matter what you do, nothing seems to be working. We've been fighting this one all night, my man.
I know. I've been watching. And the thing is that, yeah, when you're a one-man band trying to have octopus arms, it doesn't work out sometimes.
No, not at all, my man.
Not at all.
But what do you do?
Yeah,
do you do?
exactly. So
We'll get through it. We will live. We will survive.
that's right. It's just a bump in the road.
I know.
Yeah. So last night when you and I were had our extended combo, we had talked about skiffs, and I'd been working on something for a few days now, and I thought I'm going to drop it tonight and see what you think. It's just my opinion on stuff. Again, kind of getting into these. I like writing these little reports. So, um, basically, the veil of secrecy. Is a UAP skiff a step towards truth or another layer of mystery? So, obviously, in recent years, UAPs have shifted from of public discourse to the halls of Congress, fueled by whistleblower testimonies, declassified videos, and a growing bipartisan clamor for answers. The establishment skiffs to discuss UFOs with lawmakers was heralded as a breakthrough, a secure space where classified truths could be shared, supposedly paving the way to public disclosure. Yet, as reports of delayed, restricted, or outright blocked skiff briefings piled up, a nagging question emerges. Are these efforts genuinely aimed at transparency, or are they carefully orchestrated performance to placate a curious public while preserving the status quo of secrecy? So, the promise of a skiff briefing, particularly following whistleblower David Grush's explosive 2023 testimony, was a beacon of hope for advocates of disclosure. Lawmakers like Representative Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna and Jared Moskowitz have championed the cause, pushing for access to classified information and verified claims of non-human technology and government cover-ups. Yet, time and time again, these efforts have been stymied. Grush, stripped of his security clearance, was unable to brief Congress in a skiff, with delays stretching over 16 months as of late 2024. Other briefings, such as the January 2024 session with the Intelligence Committee Inspector General, left lawmakers like Representative Andy Ogles frustrated, citing a concerted effort to conceal information. Even AARO, tasked with investigating UFOs and UAPs, has been criticized for its opaque budget and reluctance to share substantive findings, as Representative Nancy Mace pointed out during the 2024 hearing. This pattern of obstruction raises a deeper issue: the tension between national security, obviously, and public accountability. The government's jurisdiction for secrecy often hinges on protecting sensitive technologies or intelligence sources, but when elected officials, those entrusted with oversight, are denied access, the argument begins to unravel. If, as some claim, UAPs and UFOs are merely advanced drones or misidentified phenomenon, why the need for such impenetrable barriers? So, the Pentagon's own history, from 1947 Roswell incident to the now defunct Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, suggests a long-standing practice of overclassification. As Senator Mike Rounds noted in 2024, achieving transparency is a marathon, not a sprint, but the public's patience wears thin when every step forward seems to meet a brick wall. On the other side, defenders of the status quo argue that SCIFs are functioning as intended, secure environments for discussing sensitive data, not public forums for disclosure. The complexity of UFOs and UAPs potentially involving advanced adversary technology or unexplained phenomenon demands caution, they say. Arrow's reports, while often inconclusive, have identified many UAP as balloons or drones, suggesting that not every sighting warrants a grand conspiracy. Moreover, the logistical challenges of coordinating across agencies and managing classified data could explain delays rather than deliberately stonewalling. Yet, this perspective struggles to account for the consistent pushback against legislative efforts like the UAP Disclosure Act. So, the heart of the issue, my opinion, lies in the trust or the lack thereof. Decades of government denials, coupled with sporadic leaks into declassified snippets, have eroded public confidence. When lawmakers like Burchett describe an orchestrated effort to block transparency, or when whistleblowers face professional retaliation, as Ryan Graves testified in 2023, it fuels suspicion of a deeper agenda. Public statements reflect the sentiment, with some news reports alleging that the CIA's Office of Global Access is hiding UAP programs from Congress, a claim that, while unverified, resonates with public primed to expect cover-ups. So the government's insistence that nothing is there clashes with its refusal to open the books, leaving citizens to wonder, if there's nothing to hide, why hide it? So are SCIFs tools for truth or a stage for managed disclosure? The answer depends on whether those in power prioritize accountability over control. For now, the veil remains firmly in place, and the truth, whatever it may be, stays just out of our reach. So that's my opinion.
Wow, you should be doing the Dave 101 tonight.
Nope. See, that's it. I wanted to do this. I didn't want to jump on Dave's 101.
It's all good.
Okay, good.
It's all good. I mean, here's the thing, my man.
Mhm.
When I look at the whole thing, I mean, I'm going to be blunt. As somebody who lives this each and every day,
Yeah.
it's getting harder and harder to believe what you can believe.
No kid. It's true, and it's funny because you and I discussed this last night over amongst many other things, but the SCIF thing was kind of eating at the back of my head for it's been doing it for a while, but I thought, what is it all about? Is it really happening? Is it not happening? What are they doing behind those closed doors? What are the consequences of not disclosing? What are the consequences of disclosing? So I tried to balance it out, and yeah, I don't think I gave myself any answers, but I think I kind of narrowed it down for myself in my head. So I put it on paper, and I thought I'd share it.
I'm glad you did. I mean, here's the thing. These SCIFs that are going on, like the secret one that seemed to happen just the other day with David Grush and Eric Burleson and members of Arrow, why are they keeping it secret? They're trying to bring this into the public realm. Why do you have to play it secretive until after the meeting is held?
Yeah.
And if I'm Eric Burleson, and I'm the kind of guy who is trying to come out there and say, we need to bring transparency to this field, let me ask you this, Mr. Burleson. Why didn't you ask him in the SCIF, what can come out?
Right.
What in this meeting can we tell the public to move the ball forward on a public level?
Yeah. It seems so absolutely simple. The question that you're posing, it just seems absolutely the next step. Like, yeah, what are we doing here? Okay, we've got this. We're in this room. What are we going to tell? And what can we talk to these people about? Because that's kind of our job, is to let these people know what's going on in their world, right? But yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to be in a SCIF. I'd just love to see what's going on in there.
Yeah, and so would I. I would love to be able to see what's going on in there as well. But I mean, at some point,
Mm-hmm.
you got to stop with the BS
Yeah.
and tell us point blank what is truly going on.
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing that.
No.
So are they doing it for their own benefit, or are they doing it for us?
I think it's my opinion on it is I think it's to a degree to their own benefit. I think that there's, and as we've all discussed before, there's money involved, there's contractors involved. Um, yeah, there's a lot of egg that's going to end up on a lot of people's faces when things finally open up. Yeah, we've been lying, and there's a lot of people, the public's going to not be very happy, I'm sure, with some of the stuff that's going on. So I think it's one of those things that we've lied so much and we've kept so many secrets that if we unravel this now, we'll never get the toothpaste back in the tube, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of problems.
The question is, can we have those problems? Are we ready for those problems? Are we ready to handle those issues? Because the games they're playing right now are just getting to the point of being, of all of us tuning on out, really.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And to answer that question, and again, in my opinion, is I think that some people could handle it. I'm sure dropped on their lap and going, okay, here it all is. But I think for the bigger picture and for the humanity side of it, it would be smart to start opening going chapter by chapter and slowly opening up for everybody to see, because at least that it's not going to completely blow everybody's mind. Like, I just don't understand what the heck everything we thought was real isn't, or whatever. So bringing it on gently and disclosing, like many of the people have said, disclosing over a period of time and warming us up into it, I think would be a better way of doing it. And they got to do it quick, because like we said last night, if another country decides we're done, we're dropping the ball and letting everybody know, if the United States or other countries are still going to look stupid, right? So,
well, it is something that there could be a lot of egg on the face if something like catastrophic disclosure happens.
Right.
And that is part of the issue that many of us are seeing right now. Carl Nell once again came out saying, guys, we cannot have catastrophic disclosure.
That's right.
This would be detrimental to the United States and their hidden programs. We got to be able to control it.
Yeah.
Okay, what part are you controlling? Are you controlling the technology? Are you controlling the crash retrievals? Are you controlling the aliens? Okay, what part is concerning?
Well, yeah. What was it? What did Burlinson say a while back? It's not the fact that things are actually out there, UFOs and aliens and stuff. It's the technology we use to capture them or understand it. It's like, what? So your cameras are top secret, but the rest of it isn't. So let's get on with this.
And that's the big thing right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Which direction do you want to go?
I don't even think they know. Not at all.
I think they know.
Yeah.
But they're afraid to tell the public.
Oh, I would suggest, yeah, you're bang on with that. I would think that, well, the fear is yeah, it's like a kid being caught telling so many lies, right? Then finally dad or mom gets him cornered and goes, all right, we know what's going on. You better start spilling the beans. And the kid just keeps on lying. You're just, digging that hole. Yeah, it makes you look a bit stupid.
Yeah, I just don't see where there is benefit in any of this.
No, definitely not. They need to rethink this. They need to change the team. They need to bring in some new faces. And I mean, nothing against the Elizondos and none of that stuff. But yeah, they needed rearrange their thought process, and new blood needs to come in there, which we thought was going to maybe be Annapolina Luna and Nancy Mace and stuff, but seem to be towing the company line, that's for sure.
there definitely needs to be a change in attitude, because my personal opinion is we see Congress getting very, very frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
We see the same type of issue with the whistleblowers. It's the same people tell the same stories and everything. How do you not have every piece of information from them? What are they doing in between? Why aren't you talking to them in between?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, you've been talking to them for years. Is there something what are they just giving you morsels the whole time? No, definitely not. I'm sure that everything's been opened up. Well, about 80% of it, 95% of it. I don't know, but you're right. It's like, what new are you learning from these same people all the time? Nothing.
Well, I mean, we could always tell the same story over and over and over again, and then say, buy my book.
Well, true. But then again, too, that's how you remember a lie, is telling the same story over and over and over and over again. Just saying, allegedly.
It's always allegedly, my friend.
That's right.
Always allegedly. Yeah. And I can sense the disappointment in your little rant there regarding that, because I think the public, for the most part, is finally tired. Getting back to what Danny Silva said the other night. I mean, this guy was Mr. Pro UAP.
Right.
Okay? Everything UAP this, UAP that. And I mean that with all due respect to Danny.
Sure.
But in the end, I look at it that he's just as frustrated as everybody else.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have all these people coming out telling stories of what they saw. That's not whistleblowing.
No, definitely not. It's witnessing. And I think, that's a terminology. I like the way that that's changed, and it makes a lot more sense to me when witnessing, not whistleblowing.
Your thoughts on the latest whistleblower, Matt Brown?
I'm still digging into it 100%. I'm not 100% sure yet. I think after the barber incident, where I kind of bought into it a whole hog, I'm a little bit more, not pessimistic, I guess. I'm a little more cautious listening to his stories. And plus he's with Corbell, and I'm trying to watch that interview and ignore Jeremy to a certain extent and listen to what Matt Brown actually has to say seems to be difficult. I don't know what it is, but it seems that Jeremy, to me, in my opinion, Jeremy seems to want to get in there and oh boy, this could be trouble. And it's like, shut up and never mind the drama. I'm trying to listen to him. So I haven't formed an opinion yet, but I'm still trying to gather what he's saying and just kind of sit back and digest it. I haven't come to any conclusion yet, but I'm being cautious.
I think that this guy could be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it all depends on what he comes out with.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this is the guy who came out with, basically leaked Immaculate Constellation.
That's right.
Which we all know has been changed now.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's going to be interesting to see how it comes out to play on this, as we got about 45 seconds left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it will. And like I say, I'm trying to be a little more cautious in my approach to, and not trying to dive right in and go, wow, and get caught up in the whatever, the glitz and glamour of it all, for lack of a better term. I'm trying to be a little more analytical, and I think I've been into this enough now that I can start forming my own opinions a little better instead of just believing everything that's thrown at me, right? And yeah, I've learned my lesson a few times with that. So I'll do this cautiously, and yeah, I'm hoping that he comes up with some good stuff. I really do.
All right, Timmy, we're going to say goodnight to you. Thank you. And we will see you this weekend.
Most certainly will.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Tim James, the UFO Report. Coming up next to Dave 101. Get ready to get off my lawn. Next.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Right on, right on. Excellent. All right. Well, I will leave you to your lawn mowing.
Yeah. Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Just stick in and check the audio again.
Oh, yeah.
Part of the issue that I'm having with the audio
Mm-hmm.
is so many different people are saying so many different things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like when I checked the audio on YouTube, when I went back on the break, it was I thought I could hear myself perfectly.
Yeah. Right now, or even during this last half hour, being in studio, completely awesome. I don't know what it was like on the outside, obviously, but yeah, no breaking up, no anything. So hopefully that we've nipped that in the bud. But I'll be watching the Dave 101, so I'll fill you in if I hear anything goofy.
All right, buddy. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Have a good evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay. Get the hell out. Oh, man. Oh, man. What are we going to talk about tonight? Hmm. All right. Thank you, Uncle Jimmy Goodall. Hope you're having a good time. You're the best, buddy. Gotta sit up straight. There. Bring that there. Do I ever get nervous before shows? No. I think the last time I got nervous was when I had Elizondo on the first time. I was nervous that night. I was nervous when I interviewed George Knapp, when I interviewed David Politis. I was nervous then. I don't get nervous anymore. Thank you tonight to our super chatters, Area 53 times 2, AJ, Richard, and Creepypasta. We really appreciate the love and support tonight. Thank you very much. Little Granty Baker, how are you? Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. The Dave 101 and the Weird News of the Week coming up here momentarily. But first, I want to remind all of you that if we've missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free. Why are they free? Because I like them being free. YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night, that time of the week, where I yell at all of you to get off my lawn. It's the Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave! Who? Dave, D-A-V-E. What is this?
Dave's not here.
It's the Dave 101.
I can see you're really upset about this. I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
Dave the killer! Yeah! Dave the killer!
Dave's a mess.
A good friend of mine, when things go into chaos, has a saying that he always uses. And he throws his arms up in the air. He says, "What are we doing here? What the hell are we doing here?" And I'm starting to learn that about the UFO world right now, because so much is going on, and yet nothing is actually happening at the same time. We've had a new whistleblower come out. We've had Carl Nell come out saying that, disclosure needs to be controlled. We cannot have catastrophic disclosure. We have scientists like Eric Davis coming out talking about, let me tell you, alien species. We have everything coming out the last couple of weeks. But guess what? It's all using the word alleged. See, when I was in journalism school a number of years ago, oh goodness, this is going back 27 years ago now. My God, am I old. I was remembered being taught that in order to save your butt on any story, using the word allegedly covered your butt. It was like the umbrella to keep the rain off your head, the word allegedly. You could say, Jim did something bad to John, allegedly. And that way you were covered in case the story turned different. Well, there are so many alleged stories coming out of Washington, D.C. regarding the UFO game. How can we believe anything right now? The people who once supported blindly the UAP movement from 2017 on are starting to really realize that maybe all those old school ufologists actually knew what they were talking about. Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe the schooling finally came for the 2017s who really tried to push the envelope, UAP this, UAP that, when in reality, UAP meant man-made objects, which was kind of hinted at by the new whistleblower in his interview with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp on their podcast Weaponized, about the different shapes that were flying around, that allegedly these UAP are man-made objects. Where have you heard that before? As I've said many times on this show, UAP are man-made objects. I'm not interested in UAP. I'm interested in UFOs. That's the juice I want to drink. Because I am thirsty. I am parched. I am crawling through a desert saying, give me the juice so I can stand on my feet and yell to the world, I was right. And that isn't an ego thing. That is just trying to get the proper knowledge out to the public. Now, there's a lot of people who will say, you know what, don't worry about the wording or the name changing. That's just semantics. But you know what? The one thing that I was taught is if you don't sweat the small stuff, you will never be able to change the bigger landscape. It's like if you're tightening up your tires. You flip your tires over, you get new tires, and you go to torque them, and you've got 5 bolts on your pattern, and you only torque 4 tight, but you leave the 5th one loose. What's going to happen? It's going to throw everything awry. You don't want that happening, especially when you're trying to gain speed to go down the UFO highway. You don't want that. The analogy that I just used is because that's where the UFO world needs to start the changing. When we see Skywatcher coming on out, trying to change the name of summoning to psionics or CE5, whatever you want to call it, they're now trying to change the names of the classic UFO shapes. The worst one was the octagon-shaped UFO that people have seen. Now they want to call it an 8-con. You can't make this stuff up. April Fool's Day was over a month and a half ago. If we want to take this seriously and we want to hold these people accountable, we have to be able to start with the small stuff. Carl Nell coming out saying that catastrophic disclosure would be the worst thing that ever happened. Well, that's only because your secrets would come out, Carl. You're a proud military man, and God bless you for your service. Thank you very much. But when it comes to this story, there are a lot more people on the outside than there are on the inside who've seen things that you could never imagine. We already know. We're not the ones to worry about. The ones to worry about are the public out there who doesn't believe, doesn't want to believe, thinks this is all fun conspiracy theory, tinfoil hats, little green men, UFOs. He's worried about the stigma people, the people who think what we are like, what we are not like, what we should be thinking about, and staring down at their phone instead of looking up in the sky, trying to figure out what truly is going on up in the stars. Catastrophic disclosure, if you really want disclosure, is really the only answer you can have. Why is it the only answer you can have? Because it's the only way that you are going to get truth. We're not going to get truth through confirmation. We're not going to get truth through hearings. While the politicians cry transparency, here we are as a public seeing right through the BS that they are hiding behind in the name of future transparency. Why does Burleson or Burchett or Luna or Mace or Boebert or any of them all get to know what we want to know? Bring it out. It goes with the same thing with the Epstein files, the Diddy files, JFK, Martin Luther King, 9/11, and every other conspiracy theory that it is believed the government is hiding. If they really want to get to the answers and literally have a conspiracy clinic going on in Washington, D.C., the only way you can bring that to the public is if you give the public the information. It really isn't that hard. If you want the public to know, you need to provide the information to the public. You don't do that in a skiff. You don't do that behind closed doors. Bring it on out. Another alleged whistleblower, and I use that term in quotation marks now, isn't going to help. These are eyewitnesses, credible eyewitnesses. They are not whistleblowers. We're throwing around that term like candy right now. And my attitude has changed in the last 3 weeks on that. Thank you to both Walter Bosley and John Ramirez for waking me up on that. That is part of the issue. If you want to move the ball forward, if you want to have it rolling down the hill, gaining some momentum and speed, stop with the games. Now, yes, we've been told many times before, this is a marathon, not a race. Well, you know what? At least through 1 mile of a marathon, you start seeing leadership take place. Where is the leadership here? There is none. It's a bunch of people running around. And maybe it's my opinion, but just from an outsider's perspective, I really believe Congress might be a little fed up right now. I really do. They could be fed up with Elizondo going from buy my book to 2 fake pictures. They could be upset with Grush after no showing. Yes, he was at the last SCIF hearing with Burleson, but he no-showed when he was supposed to be there. Still don't know the reason why. It'd be nice, in transparency, to know why he skipped that meeting. So why don't we just get to the bottom of it? Skywatcher is not going to give you anything, people. They've already stated that. They don't want to deal with the public. They have their own cool little thing going on, and I don't even care what they're going to be doing. Because all they're doing is renaming everything. They've got great funding. They've got great people involved, but they want to do their own thing. And you know what? Let them. Let them do their own thing. That's the thing that we need to be more focused on. Catastrophic disclosure. That's what it comes down to. Sometimes, in order to get things done, all hell needs to break loose. Don't you agree? It's like when you're redoing a room in your house. You tear it all apart before you put it all back together. Maybe that's what needs to happen here. Because right now it seems like the only logical solution in order to solve the UFO story, the alien story. And hopefully then, if and when catastrophic disclosure ever happens, allegedly, we might actually get a real whistleblower that doesn't mind bringing out real information. We are officially in the days, people, where we have to watch that information because AI now is so good, and it is going to continue to get better, where we are not going to be able to use any videos whatsoever. We saw this coming in Hollywood with many movies that showed this happening, whether it was Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Running Man for AI. Who remembers Arnold Schwarzenegger flying the helicopter and he got in trouble because he wouldn't fire on the desperate people down below looking for food? And they AI'd the video to make it look like he was the one who caused the mass shooting from the helicopter. Do you remember that? Yeah, AI will be able to manipulate anything, and it's already started, and we're not going back. So how can we trust any videos from the U.S. government or leaked videos? You cannot. We are going to have to count on more information, more paper, more computer files, unless somebody actually wants to whistleblow and literally take the media to a very, very top secret spot and show them where things are hidden. That's how it's going to work. We're going to need insider info, but somebody needs to grab the bull by the horns and actually say, I'm the one who's going to do this. I'm the sacrificial lamb. If we don't get a sacrificial lamb, The whistleblowers that we are seeing, God bless them for coming out. Thank you for your service. There is no disrespect there. But they are just like you and me who are experiencers, who are eyewitnesses. The only reason why they're being considered more credible is because of their top secret clearance. Many experiencers have had more happen than the whistleblowers have. But it just goes to show how deep, how dark, and how ugly this situation is in the fight to keep it protected under the UAP moniker. And that's your Dave 101.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News.
Loud noises!
I am good at things, fighting and reading the news.
It's time once again for Spaced Out Radio's Weird News of the Week.
All right, let's get to the weird news of the week as we kick things off. Down in New Zealand, heartbreaking for this country because the unofficial national fruit of New Zealand is not even native to its country. It's South American. It's an illegal alien. Yeah, and it's not even exclusive to New Zealand. And it's not, surprisingly, the kiwi. It's the Feijoa. Is that how it's pronounced? Known as pineapple guava elsewhere, the fruit, a green perfumed oval with a polarizing taste, can be purchased in California or Canberra. Yet no country has embraced the Feijoa with quite fervor or fixation like New Zealanders. Due to its short shelf life, New Zealand, a nation thriving of fruit exports, has never been able to spin the Feijoa, or Feijoa, Feijoa. They actually put it in to break it down, how to pronounce it. Feijoa, into a global brand as growers have done with apples and kiwi. But during the brief span of weeks each year when the fruit is ripe, the country goes Feijoa wild. Yeah, apparently its allure comes partly from how it was acquired. In autumn, fall fruit forms fragrant carpets below on the ground and is swept into boxes, bags, and buckets to be offered for free outside homes, in office break rooms, and on neighborhood Facebook groups. You can pick up your Feijoas anywhere and everywhere. But the problem is, people are upset now. Their fruit is not from there. Yep, it's got a strange history. Hails from the British Highlands, Uruguay, and the corner of Argentina. That's where they started getting the fruit, and that was just over 100 years ago. So for generations, here they thought the Feijoa was the main fruit of New Zealand, born and bred. No, unfortunately it's not. Now, this next story is really from the world of stupid, dumb, and idiocy. So, there's some pretty large snakes out there, large enough to actually eat an adult person. The anaconda comes to mind. But one man decided to actually sign up for this, and nobody knows why but him. So he went on to be on the show Eaten Alive, where he was devoured by a giant snake. Not a good idea. He did have protected on so his rib cage wouldn't be crushed to death. Yeah, he's a conservationist named Paul Rozzoli, trying to protect animal habitats and ecosystems around the world by doing extreme adventures like being swallowed whole by a snake. Yeah, so this is what he did. To raise awareness, he got in front of a hungry green anaconda and tempted it to eat him, and then he went down. How gross is that? Like, who does that? Who thinks that this is a good idea? So they didn't just send him into the serpent's jaws. They actually put him in a custom-made carbon fiber suit which would protect him from the snake's fangs and, of course, crushing the rib cage. And they also fitted him with an oxygen supply so he could breathe inside the snake, as well as a microphone and mini camera so he could be monitored inside the snake the further he went down before he was literally vomited back up. Yeah, he approached the anaconda on all fours. The snake soon took the bait, began constricting him rather than just getting on with eating him. Being constricted by the snake, Rosalie said he could no longer move and decided to call things off after he feared the snake would break his arm. Well, what did you think would happen? Literally, what do you think would happen? All I'm saying is, this is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever heard. And if you got to be that silly in order to do something like that, you deserve to actually be swallowed by a snake. Gross. Remember the dude Liver King? Well, apparently his wife is the testicle queen. Yeah, while millions are, don't eat liver. Some do. Some like it. Others, like myself, don't. She's decided, as a fitness influencer, that the greatest thing that she could eat, Barbara's her name, is bull balls. Yep. She says they are healthy. They make her feel good. It's part of her diet to eat 3 ounces of nutmeg, without the meg, every day with hot sauce. And 1 ounce for breakfast and 1 for dinner. I can think of better things to eat than that. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. Soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Somebody needs to write a song called How Gorgeous is Jimmy Goodall? Oh. How gorgeous is Jimmy Goodall? All right. That ain't going to be me. Definitely not a songwriter. What do we talk about tonight? Jim, you aren't an old geezer. You are still a party animal extraordinaire. I'll be honest with you guys. If you've never hung out with Jim Goodall in Vegas, he is literally like Hugh Hefner without the robe. The ladies swoon to him. Swoon. I never use the word swoon on this show. But when it comes to Jim Goodall, the ladies are swooning over him. That's right, Flat Six. Swooning. Swooning. Tim Mothman and his goatee have been witness to this. Moody Mongol? What's going on, Gremlin? I'll tell you right now, every woman who fawns over me on this show, when they see me in public, they run the other way. It's a sad, sad state of affairs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you to everybody. We passed 28,000 subscribers. So thank you very, very much. The hell is that? Refresh that. Didn't realize how dirty my glasses were until I lift them up and actually see. Oob to swooning. By the way, for those of you keeping track, you now only have 8 days. 8 days to shop for my birthday. Oob. Okay, I see what we're going to have to do here. All right, I see what we're going to have to do here. It's the weirdest levels I have ever seen. Okay, we're going to have to play tonight. Way to go, Dave. Nice audio issues, buddy. All right, let's get to work. The first one will be right about here. Copy. We're going to make this creative so they sound really good. Here we are. If I see Elovni Volador at my door in his birthday suit, I will knock him out. I will. Okay, so this one is good. That's where it is. All right, so let's just boost this a little bit. Effects, amplify, 160. There we go. That sounds good. There we go. We're getting set. They won't finish it that quick, Parabarv. That is the goal. I've put it out there to the universe. This is our year. 2 series down, 2 to go. See, Paramarv, that's a wrong comment to make right there. He says, oh, come on, Dave. If you see El Ovni Volador in his birthday suit, it's only because you walked in front of the mirror. I am not El Ovni Volador. Okay? I don't see the similarities. I've looked. I've listened to you smart people out there. Okay? There's no similarity between me and El Ovni Volador. Nothing. Story's getting old, people. Hey, Dave, you're El Ovni Volador and Tim's El Phantasmo or whatever the hell the stupid name is. No, it's not us. Not us whatsoever. I don't know where you guys are coming up with that. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Really? That was it? You bugger. Let's do it again. Jim Goodall was there. He saw El Ovni Volador. He could confirm that we were not in the same area as him or those two idiots in Vegas. We were out at Rachel at Area 51. See, Joe has seen me hit El Ovni with a folding chair. That's right. Flat 6, you get it. Ain't us. Oh, man. You people are a tough crowd. My current theory with El Omni Olador, he could be some kind of alien hybrid clone of Dave, modified to be the perfect wrestler, with an inbuilt urge to disrupt Dave's show from time to time. That actually is logical. It's much more logical than Paramarv trying to say, hey, Dave, walk in front of the mirror. Oh, Paramarv, you hurt my feelings. I still think Dallas will beat Winnipeg. And Florida will knock off Toronto. That's what I think happens. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Paramarv. Because for some ungodly reason, my boy is a Carolina Hurricanes fan. Don't ask me how that began. Don't ask me how that came about. He just decided that the Carolina Hurricanes were his team. And as a father, I mean, you don't wish that on anybody or on anybody's children. It's just like when your son plays hockey or football or a real sport, you feel pain when you drive by the soccer field and see all those kids running around. You know, thinking how much their parents don't love them. Yeah, it's true. Long story short, somehow I failed as a parent. My son became a Carolina Hurricanes fan. I don't know why. I don't have any answers for it. But that just seems to what have happened. I don't know what I did, Jimmy, but you're welcome. Four. So, anyways, my son and I had to have a little chat today about this because when Edmonton makes the Stanley Cup Finals, and if Carolina makes the Stanley Cup Final, I literally told my son there will be like up to 2 weeks that him and I will not talk. We won't speak. So, I'm a little peeved about that because I like hanging out with my boy. Which father doesn't? My boy's a good kid. Sure, he's made some mistakes in life, like cheering for the Carolina Hurricanes. But, I mean, you don't expect that as a dad. Dad, I'm a Carolina Hurricanes fan. Oh, stabbed me right in the heart. Of all the teams, I would have sooner had him cheer for the Montreal Canadiens than literally the Carolina Hurricanes. I was talking to one of our radio people, Chuck, today about that. Okay. Man. Oh, well. Let's go. SOR 5. So my levels are good. Those levels, it's music. Music go up. And we'll bring this up. That should do it right about there for tomorrow night. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See there? I'm quiet. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bear with me. It's way too pitchy right there. Right there. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gotta belt it out. I'm gonna get a new system. I'm pissed off with this one. Pissed right off. Those are beautiful levels right there. Music's just way too low. I'm just going to quickly do something here. There's nothing wrong with the Carolinas. Nothing wrong with Carolinas. Just saying, I don't like the Carolina Hurricanes hockey team. That's all. I'd love to travel to the Carolinas. I want to go down some of those creeks in the Carolinas, especially North Carolina. Those creeks where you can find like shark teeth and megalodon teeth. I think that would be totally cool. I'd love to find a megalodon tooth. I've held one. Let's do that. There we go. Let's do this. Tomorrow night on the show, Rebecca Rose will join us. We're going to talk to her about ET abduction, the secret space program. This is going to be good. Oh, so good. Very good indeed. It's going to be fun. Thank you tonight to Area 53 times 2, Creepypasta, AJ, and Richard for the super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support. Hi, Taylor on X. Aliens are demons, but not all demons are aliens. And not all aliens are demons. Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you for letting us crack 28,000 subscribers as we continue to move that way up. Do us a favor. Ring that bell. Share our show. We'd greatly appreciate it. As for you and I, we'll see each other tomorrow night. Have a good one, everybody. Later. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.